it was probably one of the spiciest WSL fixtures that we've seen. And I was expecting this. I was really excited to see like what challenges like Spurs were going to pose to Chelsea at a packed out Kingsmeadow. But my God, 5-2, I don't think reflects like the moments of it being so equally balanced at times. And Spurs feeling like they could have potentially walked away with a win, I think, early doors. But Chelsea just came back, opened the floodgates, opened more floodgates, opened the sea barriers, opened the ocean. And then all of a sudden it was kind of game over. But Rach, tell me your thoughts on this game. I mean, where do you even start with a game like this?
Well, I'll be honest, I was looking forward to it, but I was a little bit worried about Spurs based on their previous form and how ruthless Chelsea can be. And actually, that was something that I thought maybe Chelsea had lacked a little bit against Arsenal, was a ruthlessness. We just said it before we started recording. It didn't feel like a 5-2 game, and maybe that's because 2 of the goals came in injury time. And I feel like 3-2 maybe would have been a better reflection of the game. But that being said, Chelsea were the better team. I think they deserved to win it. But equally, you look at Spurs' after that first goal, they really pegged Chelsea back. We saw it against Manchester United as well. And that makes me worry a little bit about whether it's a theme creeping in, that not taking their chances and then being punished. Mm-hmm. And, it'll be a frustration for them because they'll look at both of those games and go, could we have gotten maybe a draw out of that? Had we scored some of those opportunities, could it have been a different game? But God, yeah, it was exciting. And I love those exciting games under the lights as well. Now, for me, it was like 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I had a great morning because the game started at 7:15 a.m. for me, and I just queued them all up on YouTube. In your defence, Chloe, when we had YouTube waiting, we had it just like open after one of the games, it said up next live.
Didn't it?
Chelsea versus
Spurs.
That
wasn't me.
So
I didn't
was
make that up.
No. And I was like, oh, great. I thought this was on Sky. Grand, we can watch it on YouTube. No. So we did manage to watch it on Sky using VPN. But I had a lovely day of like football during the morning, early afternoon. And then that evening we got to go and see the Young Lionesses play. But I do love a juicy fixture under the lights. There's something different about it.
I can only imagine how nice it would have been to wake up with a pina colada and watch the entire WSL series throughout the entire day. That must be really lovely for you. But I do...
Mimosa,
I mean, the thing that I was super impressed with Spurs, before we kind of get on to the ins and outs of the game, was the counter-attack. Like, for me, I feel like that is such a big part of their game and something I've massively seen them step up. And I think it's the front players. I mean, I cannot stop going on about Jess Naz and how amazing she's been. Like, her physicality, like the way that she can like get the ball, like, launch it to her, the hold-up play that she has, the driving forwards. Like, she'll bounce players off now, which is something that we didn't see her doing potentially last year. So I think it's that's exciting. They catch teams on the break, and I think had they just been a bit more clinical, like you said, I think it could have been a completely different game. But the goal line technology debate has been reignited now. Amanda Neildon scored a controversial equaliser for Spurs. I reckon it was about 30 to 40 yards out. She'd noticed Hannah Hampton off her line. Hannah Hampton was about, I'd say probably around a 6-yard box, maybe like the penalty spot type there. Obviously not expecting Neildon to shoot from that distance at all. I think she was expecting there to be sort of like a, some passes and play. And then Hannah Hampton quickly scurries back into her goal after Neildon's launched the ball. She kind of like managed to sort of like almost parry it down onto the line. I think everyone's quite clear that initial shot, like the initial parry down, was on the line, or if not, sort of like before the line. And then the ball, I think the trajectory of the ball then takes it back into the net. The lino on the right hand side, as you're looking at the goal, is still running back towards goal, so not necessarily has the best the vantage point of the goal. He's not on the touchline when he makes a call that it's gone over the line. But there is the trajectory of the ball does take it back into there, and Hannah Hampton tries to like parry it out again, and it is very unclear. There's not a clear angle that I can see about whether that actually the whole ball goes over the line or not. We did have some people send us some footage from behind the goal on Sab.
How helpful.
Which was really, really good. But where they'd sent us footage, but like the goal line was across the barrier, so you couldn't even see where the goal line was. But they were convinced until their dying days that it had not gone over the line, and it was an absolute travesty that Hannah Hampton had been given a yellow card for rightly saying to the referee, "What the hell are you playing at? That was clearly not in." Rach, what are your thoughts? Do you think it was a goal, like from all the way back in Dominican Republic?
I've got a different angle from
as someone who has the best vantage point of this.
Do you know what? No, I think for me, I don't feel like there was clear enough evidence to show that there was. So this, how the lino could be so convinced, because I would assume in those situations, if you're not like if you can't be like, I definitely no, then you shouldn't give it. And you know, sometimes we see it with penalties as well. You're sometimes like, how could they have seen that kind of thing? But I think in those situations, unless you're 100% sure, it shouldn't be given. And it is, I've looked at various different angles of it, and I don't know how, because initially I thought, okay, maybe the liner was on the baseline and he saw the whole of the ball beyond the post, right? So fair enough. But then in the Sky replay, you see that the lino is still running down. So I don't know how the lino could have seen that. And what is absolutely wild, last night, the same thing happened in the England game. A ball was launched in. I swear to God, it was like a carbon copy. The England keeper parried it, kind of went backwards into her goal and then caught it. And then the goal was given. Now, they don't have goal line technology over here. They have a thing called VAR Lite, which is a whole different ball game. But it allows them to go and check it and look at different angles. And they ended up not giving the goal. But I texted Sophie and I was like, we'd never see this. And now we've seen it twice in like two games.
On the same day.
It's ridiculous. But yeah, I think the frustration, I think, with goal line technology is that it is not an expensive technology to implement. Most stadiums have it or have had it. So you look at like Lee Sports Village or the Academy Stadium, they were involved in the Euros. They've had goal line technology used in their stadium. So feasibly, you would think it's not like a super expensive thing to put into the stadiums, and it could be like a really simple thing to put in. It's a case of a watch buzzing if it passes or whatever that might be. I think the wider conversation around VAR, you know, I know you're going to come to it, but Sonia Bompastor's comments about if the technology is available for the men's game, why don't we have the same? That's not really a barometer. Like, I appreciate wanting to have the same things that the men's game has, but we all know we're not there yet. VAR is an expensive technology that's going to take a time to be brought into the game, and there are other areas of the game that need to be invested in my opinion, first. For example, full-time referees. But I can understand the goal line technology argument, because I don't feel like that's a particularly difficult or expensive piece of kit to get implemented into stadiums.
And I think it's one of those, it's not like VAR where it feels like a real, like, you know, like some of them are like properly like annoying, where it's like, oh, a hair on her elbow was like just over the line, or her big toe, and you're like, I understand it has to be a line drawn somewhere, but it's clearly not an advantage to allow something like that to be offside or whatever it is. But like for this, like, it's very clear cut. It doesn't have to be kind of like you've got to go over and look at the screens. It either happens or it doesn't happen. So
the watch buzzes or not.
It's that. So I do feel like I understand where, you know, Sonia's coming from, but again, like you said, like in terms of like the resources, I don't actually know how much it costs for goal line technology, so I'm going to kind of reserve my view on that. If it's thousands and thousands of pounds,
it's not VAR levels. It's not my VAR point. Level. You don't need extra staff. You don't need a whole heap of cameras with different lines and people to interpret it, and then someone on the sideline managing that, and then someone else in a different booth with 3 other people. Like, it's not that level. And for over here, actually, they're trialing a VAR Lite situation at this tournament, so there are alternatives there as well, which is an interesting thing to consider as well. But I think goal line technology is it's a step below in terms of implementing it, the resources it requires, etc. at a game, and you would think that should be the next step.
100%. But I think it's one of those things that you've got to obviously have rolled out across all of the WSL if you want that kind of consistency. So yeah, reserve my view a little bit on that. But I think, as you said, like if it's less expensive and it's one of those things that can kind of avoid those situations happening again, and Hannah Hampton getting another yellow, like, yes, I think it should be kind of like up there on the priority list.
Can I just say, the Hannah Hampton yellow, Emily Heaslip was the ref. You know if you go up and start complaining a lot to the referee, especially if it's like Heaslip has shown in the past, she will book that. So
for sure,
you need to be able to recognise, and I can appreciate Hannah Hampton being frustrated. I think the fact that Chelsea won 5-2 takes away some of the controversy, but had the result been different, it might have been a different story.
100%. And I think, like, almost sometimes though, like, as a goalkeeper, like when you know that you've like fucked up a little bit, like you kind of like over egg it by just going like, no, it can't have been that, what are you talking about? So like there was a
I really comfortably caught that wasn't a bother at all.
Yeah, and realistically the only reason we're kind of talking about this is because Hannah Hampton kind of like, she did fluff her lines with it. Like, it wasn't a particularly like difficult take, like it was because she didn't catch it, she decided to parry it down. This whole thing happened in the first place. So like, yeah, do you know what I mean? Right, let's get on to like another big part of the game, because I feel like there were just so many things that happened in this game. We're going to talk about one of the players that you absolutely love, have sung their praises for a while, a little bit of a fave for you, JRK, picking up player of the match. She scored an absolute worldie. When I say worldie, I mean like peach. I mean, yeah, like the athleticism, the kind of like, it was like a ninja. It was like a WSL Ninja Warrior type vibe. She took Chelsea into the lead 3-1 at that point, then scored another one in stoppage time. I think it was 1 minute after. I think it was 90+1. But like, Rach, I'll throw to you for how amazing she was, because I know that you've been waiting to say this for the last 20 minutes.
I do love when players that I've raved about and said they're underrated really come to the fore, which she's absolutely doing this season. I think the consistency she's getting in game time has allowed her to further step up. Now, I think she was, such an impactful player for Chelsea last season, and her game has been pretty consistent in terms of what she delivers when she's on the pitch. She's such a incredibly dangerous outlet for them, and her ability to run at players is amazing. And of course, she offers so much, from the width as well, but she's direct, she can score goals. And I think now, on top of that level that she was providing last season, now she's getting, I think it's like she's one of the few players that has started every game under Sonia Bompastor. That consistency is only adding to her skill set now. You look at, say, a Lauren Hemp on the left and a JRK on the right, like, it's just been the most unbelievable setup. That duo have been amazing this season, and yeah, I'm just really glad to see her getting the praise.
Oh my god! I mean, I absolutely. There's not a single part of me that didn't think that she was an amazing player. But when I saw her performance, there was a part of me that was like, oh, I should probably start listening to Rachel a little bit more. Not a lot more, but like a little bit more. But like, I think it was just like, so let me just set the scene for anyone who hasn't seen it. Like, go and see it, because it's an absolutely stunning goal. And I would be very, very surprised if it doesn't make goal of the season. But Millie Bright basically lofts the ball in from the left-hand side. Like, it's a worldie of a ball, but I think it's quite speculative. It doesn't seem to be kind of like, I don't think she thinks what's going to happen is going to happen.
You'd think a header, maybe.
At best, yeah, or like trying to like bring it down, or maybe like someone like, I don't know, trying to get a bicycle kick but failing, that kind of vibe. Like, but it was a nice ball. All of a sudden, Kaneryd, out of absolutely friggin' nowhere, jumps into the sky. It was another kind of like, I don't know, she was at least like 2 or 3 feet off and seemed to gliding through the air, hits it so cleanly on her right boot, but like it's almost like a right boot, it's almost like she's caught it on the back of her heel, and it's kind of like span off way past Becky Spencer. Nothing she could do about it, absolutely nothing on Becky Spencer for this one, and it like glides in the top corner on like a spin, and I've honestly never seen the trajectory of a ball like that when you've hit it at that part of your foot. That was baffling. Absolutely baffling.
I love those goals where the teammates are like, how the fuck did you just do that? Like, yeah, when they do, we've seen it sometimes. Like, there's a great one of when Katie McCabe scored that really long one at Aston Villa, and Leah Williamson with her hand over her mouth. Like, I love, and even the teammates are like, how did you just do that?
To put it in context, Millie Bright was walking away, like, so they panned out a little bit to show like the Kaneryd's goal from like a long distance angle. Millie Bright was just walking away from goal as if like it wasn't really, nothing really was going to come from what she just delivered, and then she turned around and sort of like raised her hands up and was like, how have you done that? But yeah, it was an absolutely beautiful goal. Massive credit to Kaneryd, and like even like the second goal that she scored in stoppage time, which she didn't even really need to do, but she absolutely blasted the roof off the Spurs net. Like, it was absolutely crazy. It was a beautiful thing to watch.